Today's lesson is on properties of logarithms. The essential question is, what are the properties of logarithms? The first thing we must remember is if the log of x to the base b equals a is the logarithmic version, then the corresponding exponential version would be b to the a equals x. So as I've said before, these two versions are two different ways of writing the same equation. So it's either log x base b equals a or b to the a equals x. They mean the same thing. Now the first rule that we'll discuss is that the log of 1 to any base is always 0. So regardless of what the base is, the log of 1 is always going to be 0. Another way of looking at that is that if you were to graph the log equation, it always crosses the x-axis at x equals 1. So the x-intercept is always x equals 1. So the log of 1 to any base is 0. The next basic property is that the log of b to the base b is equal to 1. So if you're looking for the log of a number and that number is the same as the base, your answer is always going to be 1. The next property or rule is the product rule or product property. And this says that the log of the product mn to any base is simply equal to the log of m plus the log of n. So the log of a product is equal to the sum of the logs of each element of the product, okay? So the log of mn is equal to the log of m plus the log of n. Now the next rule or property is the quotient rule, okay? So this is saying that the log to the base b of m over n is equal to the log of the numerator minus the log of the denominator, or the log of m over n is equal to the log of m minus the log of n, okay? So the log of m over n is equal to the log of m minus the log of n. Now the next rule is the power rule, okay, or power property, and that is that the log of m to the power k is simply equal to k times the log of m. So let me repeat that again. The log of m raised to the k power is equal to k times the log of m. Now the last property we have is called the change of base rule, or the change of base property. And this is helpful when you're trying to find the log of a base other than 10 or e. So we've got the log of c to any base b is simply equal to the log of c to a base you know, which we'll call a, divided by the log of b to another base you know, the same base you know, log to the base a. So log of c to the base b is equal to the log of c to the base a divided by the log of b to the base a. This is known as the change of base rule or change of base property. So these are your basic rules or properties. You've got the product rule, the quotient rule, the power rule, and the change of base rule, okay? So you really need to memorize these because these will come in handy when we're dealing with logarithmic functions and equations.